Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics and Living, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to talk about religion, the new 4-letter word, and what does it mean when people say that they're spiritual, not religious, and why have we seen the rise of the nons or the non-affiliated. Now before we begin, let's start with a prayer. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti, Amen. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, secutor in principio, et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. So we've seen a rise of the nons, the N-O-N-Es, the non-affiliated, and in fact, only about 40 years ago, it was like 5% of Americans defined themselves as non-affiliated or spiritual but religious, and now it is around 50%. And the trends, if you look at Gallup, Pew Research, all these are showing that they're going to be higher. So people are eschewing organized religion and going to the I'm spiritual but not religious. And I've had people come up to me and be like, how can you be religious? Religious traps you and keeps you oppressed. And how can you do that? Well, look, what is the definition of religion? Religion is just having traditions, rituals, customs that are geared toward a higher being. Typically today we would consider to be God. That's what the definition of religion is. It's just a system of beliefs regarding something supernatural, typically regarding God. So all of the religions of the world, so to speak, are religions, obviously. And you will find like Protestants who be like, oh, the Catholic Church is a religion. Well, look, all Protestants have traditions too. If you doubt that, go to your megachurch, your evangelical megachurch, and there is a rule of protocol just in your, you wouldn't use the word liturgy, but your worship service. Oh, there's the introductory song, and then maybe then there's the sermon, and then there might be an altar call, and then another song, right? There is a ritual and there is a tradition. And if you doubt that there is a system of beliefs, most Protestant churches are going to have a mission statement and a mission statement or some website that shows what they believe. Now, lots of times with the Protestants, it's going to be very vague because a lot of the mega churches are essentially businesses masquerading as churches, and they don't want to alienate anybody, and especially have anything too contentious when it comes to the religious issues or the moral issues. But there's going to be stuff on typically sola scriptura, sola fide, stuff that people like to hear. We have an early episode here on how Protestantism is lazy Christianity, is a lazy version of Christianity, because who wouldn't want to believe in sola fide? I'm going to go to heaven no matter what. I'm part of the elect, and I can continue to sin or divorce and remarry, all these things, and guaranteed salvation. Well, of course people want to believe that, right? I can divorce and remarry my wife over and over and over and over. I'm totally into this. But religion is not a bad thing. And I would say that, of course, we're all wired to believe in the supernatural. And when you take out religion from your life, like the atheists, or if you look at more of the governmental atheism, something like you would see in communism in the Soviet Union, or the countries in the Eastern Bloc, or in China, what do you see? You typically don't see the best of mankind and womankind. You typically see a lot of self-centeredness. You see a lot of hedonism and a lot of nihilism. You think of the portrait of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde's seminal work, Faust by Goethe. There's a lot of works that talk about this. Like when we're pursuing sensual pleasures and our concupiscence, our attachment to earthly delights, whether it be sex, food, whatever, alcohol, this typically doesn't work out well. I kind of talk, it's akin to having white cake every day. Yeah, we all love white cake, ice cream, eat it with ice cream, however you like it. You get sick, you get tired of it after. Oh no, great, white cake again. So sure, living a very hedonistic life has its allure, but ultimately ends up being empty. And what do people do when they take religion out, or they morph it into I'm spiritual but not religious because I don't want to adhere to a systemized dogma or doctrine? You end up putting another religion in its place. And today in the 21st century West, it's typically going to be environmentalism, of course, atheism, veganism, workoutism. You're devoted to whatever workout regimen it is. And there's so many more, social justice. You're going to fill that hole that we're innately wired to be connected to a higher being, and you're going to misplace it into something else. And that's not good. And if you look at society where they are very secular, or the more militant forms like with atheism, typically you see a lot of lack of value of human life. Lack of value of human life. So even when abortion was legalized here in America in 1973, you saw a 100% increase in the death of children under the age of 5 through accidental deaths or whatever it is. So it's not surprising that once you kind of legalize and codify that a certain segment of the population is okay to kill, you're going to just see across all the age spectrums less respect for life. Certainly we see it on the opposite side with euthanasia, how especially in Europe, many countries, we're killing off Meemaw because they're no longer productive. But you also see it played out in the other children. There's countries like in Holland where you can euthanize children up to a certain age for pretty much any reason. And then you see it really played out in the communist countries. And we have an episode here. Anytime you hear an atheist say, well, Christianity has killed X amount of people, the Inquisition, the Crusades, it's like, no, brother, 100 million people died. And just in the 20th century, in China and Russia and Cambodia and Vietnam and the communist countries alone, 100 million people. Communism or governmental atheism has killed infinitely more people than Christianity ever did. And again, there's a lack of quality or belief in the dignity of human life, and just it's more of the kind of brute might makes right and the kind of situational ethics, moral relativism that you see played out in this world. But typically when I hear people say that they're spiritual and not religious, what to me this means is I want to be my own pope. Right? So I want to grab a little of this, like a little of Western Buddhism. I want to grab a little of Christianity. I want to grab a little of the New Age. I want to grab a little of the postmodernism. It's like a cafeteria, right? I'm going to grab a little of this, a little of that. And I'm going to be my own pope and I'm going to decide this. Look, I could totally see the allure of that when you say you're spiritual, not religious, because you want to be your own pope. The problem with that is that there's nothing grounding. You see, the thing about religion, you can say whatever you want about Christianity, Catholicism, that form of Christianity, whatever it is, Islam, is at least it is enumerated out. The Catholic churches look at the catechism, but this is what we believe. We believe this is okay to do, this is not okay to do. Of course, we're all sinners, we're all going to lapse, but you can go to confession. But it's pretty easy in the Catholic world what we're supposed to believe, because it's all very doctrinally enumerated out. And so to define yourself as a Catholic, for example, is really you need to adhere to these things, either these religious beliefs or the moral beliefs like abortion, the 5 Catholic non-negotiables, embryonic stem cell research, and all these things. And yes, I mean, even Catholics, of course, we have a video here. There's no such thing as a liberal Catholic. You're either a practicing Catholic doing the best you can, persevering to the end so you can have salvation, or you're not a practicing Catholic. But with the rise of the nones are just like, I want to be my own pope. Yeah, I do believe in a Trinity God, but you know what? I think the Bible's wrong on fornication and adultery. I just want to have a bunch of premarital sex. And you know what? I do kind of like the idea of a personal God or having a relationship with Jesus Christ. But you know what? I don't necessarily agree on divorce and remarriage, what Jesus says in Matthew 19 and what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 7. Yeah, I don't want to believe. So it leads to anarchy because it's not grounded in anything objective. And this, of course, is the hallmark of postmodernism. This is the hallmark of this kind of materialistic world that St. Pius X warned about over 100 years ago is, well, that might be true to you, but it's not true to me. And you see this borne out like in situational ethics and moral relativism. But there are objective truths. And the good thing about religion is that it demarcates and delineates very well what they are. Now, maybe not in some of the mega churches because they kind of keep their doctrine amorphous because they don't want to offend people. But it's something like in Catholicism, it's very laid out. And I would say with Islam, it's pretty laid out as well, too. So we are grounded in something. When you are your own pope, you're grounded in whatever you want it to be. So it's much more anarchic. And of course, it's much more materialistic because you're choosing not to ground it in anything. And that's the beauty of religion, is you can read Romans 11, verse 9 to 21. I love that. The the marks of a good Christian, or you can read the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5 through 8. You can read these different things, these kind of composites on how you should live an ethical life. Look at Ephesians 4. It just tells you what you should do to be a good Christian. And so we kind of know what we need to do. Or you can read the Catechism. It kind of tells you what you need to do to be a good Christian. Look at the Ten Commandments, whatever it is. But we are guided. There's something that guides our life, our moral life, our work life, our finances. There are things that guide us. You can't worship God and you can't worship mammon. All the cautionary tales you find in the Epistle of James, and of course in the Gospels about the pursuit of money. In 1 Timothy, the root of money, the love of money is the root of all evil. Right? There's all these things that guide you when you are in a religion. Whether or not you agree in the religion and its doctrinal things, at least there's something that guides you. Whereas when you're spiritual but not religious, nothing guides you. You are essentially making up your own doctrine, and that's fraught with problems. Look at the Mormons. Look, I think theologically the Mormons, their dogma, their doctrines are questionable in all respect, but they live their moral lives better than pretty much everybody does. And so why? Because that's their religion. Their religion teaches and instills in them at a very young age to have this great life of love of family, love of country, love of children, being spendthrifts, and all these things like that. So religion is good. Now, yes, can religion be abused? Absolutely. You see this played out in the cults. You think of David Koresh, you think of Jim Jones, and all these radical cult examples. We have an episode here. Anyone tells you the Catholic Church is a cult clearly doesn't know the definition of the word cult, because the Catholic Church is far from being a cult. But either way, of course, there's always going to be radical examples of anything being bad. But as a whole, religion is good. And as a whole, Christianity has been very good for the world on a zillion levels. We ended slavery, we initiated hospitals and universities and orphanages. We brought about the belief in the dignity of human life way back when. I mean, there's so many benefits to Christianity. And so when people are like, oh, religion is bad, religion's corrupt, just understand that typically atheists come from either one of two levels, one of two places, a place of hurt and pain because they were hurt by either their father, so if their father hurts them, they're more likely to rebel against Heavenly Father, but either they were hurt by a pastor or a priest or some pastoral issue, or they just have the major sin of pride and arrogance and they got indoctrinated at the university system and they think they're smarter than everybody and know better. But a lot of that is still born in hate and pain and hurt that they had earlier in their life. By the way, religion is a good thing and we should try to abide by it the best that we can, so long as it's aligned with our conscience. We never want to violate our conscience, but remember, our consciences can be improperly informed. So if you have an improperly informed conscience, you see this played out especially with the cluster B personality disorders, like antisocial personality disorder, which used to be called, or a branch of that would be psychopaths and sociopaths. They don't know the difference between right and wrong. They have no remorse. So we can't just say, I'm following my conscience. Well, your conscience needs to be informed, and it can be improperly informed. And then you don't want to be following that conscience, right? So you need to have properly informed. And one of the best ways to properly inform it, of course, is the Judeo-Christian ethic. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care. God bless and pray.